everybody. This is a nice little special July webinar extraordinaire we have planned for you today. Firstly, I think everyone online, offline, watching just needs their own round of applause because, quite frankly, we're already halfway through the year, guys. I know that we still have 6 months to go before, in the accounting world, we do the whole process of rinse, wash, repeat. Okay. And also, on a serious note, we at Draftworx would really love to extend a warm thank you to all of you joining today, to all our users for their continuous support. You really are the force that keeps us moving forward, pushing us to do better for you. So thank you, and thank you for joining in yet another busy season. All right, today I am joined by the queen of Q&As herself, Clarissa, who also does a lot of behind the scenes work with these. She does all the organization for us. So thank you, Clarissa, for all your efforts behind the scenes. All right, wonderful people. We are halfway through 2026, and what a year. I cannot believe we're already here. It feels like just the other day, we did the webinars at the beginning. And sadly, my ever legendary sidekick, Pumi, is unfortunately unavailable this week. So he cannot join today or Thursday, but he does send his best regards to everyone attending and wishes you all the strongest coffee and the tastiest slices of cake. This webinar is going to be a bit different to how we did it in the beginning of the year and what we used to. Okay, we have a few interesting tips and tricks up our sleeves for the basics. With the help of some of our users and our incredible support team, we've put together something really extra special for you. So without further ado, guys, hold on to your coffee and let the webinar extraordinaire begin. And on that note, I'm going to turn my camera off. Yeah. All right, guys. So what we've got for you this day is we're going to do a bit of a tips and tricks with a few core focuses thanks to what has been brought to our attention. So we're going to do things as normal, but with a little twist. We've got linking 101, which will be a core focus, PPE Reconciliations, and cash flows. All right. So on that note, let me get my Draftworx open. Sorry, guys. All right. So as with anything in life, we do have a little bit of administration that we do have to consider. Okay. And that is just our setup process. So today, your little logo in the left-hand corner, there's a settings function I just want to run through. When it comes to settings, what we're basically doing is we're setting up our individual application settings. So this is for all the guys that set up, start with Draftworx. We've all got to run through this process. And sometimes, yes, it is a bit tedious, but to be fair, a lot of this is actually going to save you some really key time when you dive into your financials. So first things first, the user, that is you. You're going to put in your initials and your email address. In a lot of the big accounting firms, this is crucial because it does assign responsibility to the individual that, worked on a particular file or took responsibility. Next, your email address. No, we don't want it so we can harass you or send you lots and lots and lots of emails. We actually just want it so that we know it's verified for 2 reasons only. 1, having a valid email address ensures that should you ever need support and you have to send us your file, we know for a fact that you are able to send the email to us and we can send one back to you. Secondly, which we'll cover a little bit in the advanced, is having your email verified also enables our in-app notifications. That just enables you to communicate with your team members in a particular file, whether it be writing a review note, assigning a section to somebody, they'll be notified. Okay, no other reasons for that information other than that. The firm section, right. Now, I am particularly lazy I am particularly terrible at typing because I type faster than I should, and it will most likely show up in today's webinar. It does in a lot of my sessions. So I kind of like the idea to go set up something once and be at peace and remember it's all set up. I don't have to look at it again. So with the firm setup here, this information is going to pull through to each engagement I do as the main preparer, i.e., who's ultimately responsible for signing off those financial statements. Now think about it. If I've got a very, hectic firm address or lots and lots of information to put in, and I have to put this in 300 times because I've got 300 clients, it's going to get tiresome. So put it in once and just be rest assured it'll pull through to all your active engagements. Next, we look at financial statements. So again, looking at it from a firm perspective, Pumi is on a different computer. He likes his font to be Arial, but firm profiles or firm methodology state we print our financials in Calibri. So by setting up a default font, it just ensures that all the financial statements look the same across your firm. So it's firm-wide. You can go and choose a font. There's lots to choose from, but of course, it all depends on what your firm wants. Thousands grouping, we've got commas, we've got spaces. This just tells me how do I want my figures to print on my financials. Just making sure I've got that lovely little neat standard set across all my users. Settings for profile. Now, settings for profile tells me where is my information stored. Now, we will cover the other locations in advanced. So basically, when I've got my settings for profile 1, my clients folder is where my information is stored. And that is a local location, i.e., it is on your computer's hard drive. Okay. We will set up a server and talk about archived on the advanced on Thursday. So please join if you would like to know more about that setup. Lastly, just one of the really cool things I do like to brag about and also just point out to all our users is the other settings. There is an auto save interval, and we like to recommend 15 minutes. Why 15 minutes? Well, we've personally found that to be the sweet spot. So my computer's busy doing its thing. I've done 8 hours of exhausting work and something crashes. Computer turns off. I can't remember the last time I saved my financials. Now I'm sitting there crying, I've lost all my work, but rest assured, come back on and you've actually only lost 15 minutes of work. So that auto save is just your little backup. Yeah, and it runs in the background. You don't have to prompt it. It does its thing without you having to do anything about it. All right. So those are nice little application settings that you would at least want to set up before, moving forward. The nice part is you press the X, it saves all your information, no save buttons. Okay. Now we're going to have a look. So yes, here's my client list. Local, it is stored on my hard drive. So that means nobody else in my firm has access to my local except me. If something does happen to my computer, unfortunately, if I don't do any backups, that information will be lost. So we do recommend always having a backup, which is why we do offer different locations for storage. So yes, we will cover server on Thursday, and we will also cover WebSync in a little bit of detail. But while we're on that note with WebSync, WebSync is a cloud storage facility that we do offer as a service. Currently, we are not charging for it. We are, however, looking at potential charges later on in the year. We do know our users love to use WebSync, and we would never increase the fees without giving you advance notice as well as a solution to what we have got planned. Okay. So please be rest assured, we will not just surprise you. We are also going to take into consideration a free tier for the existing files, and then we will handle it with you when that time comes. There is no current ETA, but just a heads up that we are potentially looking at doing that later on this year. Okay. But we will definitely give you a heads up. We're not just going to spring it onto you like a SARS auto assessment. Okay. All right. Now, how do I actually go about in creating my, client file? So today we are going to be introduced to my lovely new client. They are called Brew Can Do It. Okay. Now they've asked me, please may I assist them in setting up their financials. So let's get started. How are we going to tackle this? All right. Your green bar that you see on your main menu where it says clients, that is a filter. You can go and search for particular files if you need to, but the orange bar generally tells me from a Draftworx point of view, I need to enter information there. So we're going to go and enter my information. Now I'll go and add my client's name. And when I say my client's name, I'm kind of actually also pointing it out to what is the name I expect to see on my cover page? Do I want to see abbreviated PTY limiteds, or do I want to see the full proprietary limited? Now, remember we did say I'm a little bit lazy. So I like to set something up once. I can obviously change this a little bit later, as we will see, but I do like to set it up as to how I intend to see it appear on my cover page. So I put in my client's name. They've asked me for the 2026 financial statements. Great. That's what I'm going to select. But I can obviously catch up if they sent me their 2020 trial balance. We can catch up. I can also go ahead and do their 2027 management if that need arised. But we're looking at 2026 for now. What am I doing? I'm doing annual financial statements for the client. And what is my framework? What is framework? Framework is your financial statements. So each and every one of these frameworks listed are designed in such a way that they are set to align with the reporting requirements or the layouts even. So body corporates are aimed at doing a body corporate. Your CC, closed corporations, your IFRS SME consoli, that is your consolidation files where you see 4 columns showing the group and the holding figures. IFRS SME, that is our normal standard company, and Brew Can Do It. Yes, they are a little small company, so that is most likely the framework I shall be selecting. IFRS plus consoli, that is the big boy. Those are those big financial statements. So yes, we do have those available. Your monthly management pack is a simple analysis, month-to-month balance sheet, income statement. Your income statement compares your your income and expense items for month-to-month basis versus prior figures, as well as budgeted figures. Okay. NPC, NPO, partnership, school, sole proprietor, and trusts. These are all available to use. Our plus templates, I like to call them the technologically advanced ones, give me buttons I can use and independence that I don't have to rely on anyone else to give me a preferred layout should I need it. Okay. Our legacies, yes, they are still there. They are from when we were once born long time ago, but yes, they are still in function. However, we do recommend the pluses because it gives you a lot more independence. And I'll highlight a few of those as we go along today. So I'm going to select IFRS SME. Working papers, I'm not going to cover in today's session. We did have a webinar earlier on this year where we covered all the different types of working papers we do. So if you do need to do an engagement and you need the supporting working papers with it, you are able to go and select your working papers and proceed from there. Now, once I've set up, I simply just press enter on my keyboard and I'm going to create my file. All right. Once my file is created, I usually land on what we call our client summary sheet. Now, our client summary sheet has two views to it. The first view normally gives me a financial performance overview of what's happening in my client file. Currently, nothing happening, and that is simply because I haven't imported any information. The other option, when you click on electronic review, gives you an overall file performance. So if I did have working papers, I would be able to see my progress related to my engagement. And there's a lovely little section at the bottom called document durations and form durations. It actively records the time I spend working on my file. So those budgets, when you're busy with, you can at least keep a track on that. Now, there are lots of folders at the top here that assist us with our engagement. So today, we're heavily going to focus on your setup and your financial data, because that's where we create our financial statements. The other folders are my supporting apps, okay? They're there to help me with my engagement should I require any assistance. So lead schedules, for example, I will be able to have this pre-populated once I've set up my financial statement, trial balance. Working papers, I have the ability to upload supporting documents that can later be referred back to my lead schedule in support of that balance that is on my balance sheet. The reports, client, we will cover in advanced, but financial data, this is where you will find your PDF output of the trial balance, should you need to give it back to your client, or your journals that you may have processed that they need to now go process to their accounting system. Okay, this will be your PDF. Again, I can't really view anything, haven't got anything in yet, so we'll get there eventually. Documents, value-added component. I don't know about you guys, but I really don't enjoy going out and typing out the same thing every 5 minutes. So our documents does kind of help with some secretarial information if I don't already have that preset up. Now, these are not compulsory to fill in. They're more voluntary. You can use them if you want to, but they do add value to your engagement. So with regards to your director's remuneration and loan certificates, yeah, I have a template set up. I can go and indicate what the director's remuneration was. I can go then tell it where the source came from. And also, should they have a loan, I can go and break down what the loan, interest rate, repayment terms, etc., all the terms and conditions are. But now the nice part here is if I do use my director certificate and I go and I fill in a remuneration, this will pull through to one of your notes in the financial statements. So if you have to prepare this, why not use ours? And then you can at least do two things in one input. XBRL, we do provide that as a service. So we go and we automatically tag all your financial statements and we make sure it's in accordance with your mandatory fields that SIPC does require. However, with everything that happens in the world, you do need to just review it, okay? We don't have your customer code information stored anywhere, so you would need to go and input that. But most of that has been pre-populated for you. You review it, you get to run this lovely validated instance file, and that is pushed into SIPC. Okay. Office tools, you've got a little bit of in-house help if you would like to use an in-house calculator, create your own Excel spreadsheet, or even import a solitary file. Now, to the crux of the matter, our client setup. Now, for today, I need to go and, set up my financial statements. So financial statements are two parts. We have non-financial statement information, such as your directors, your shareholders. Then, of course, we have the financial statement information, which is what? Our trial balance, the backbone of the financials. We get all our figures from there. So these two work together. So in your client setup, this is where I'm basically going to go do two things. One, I'm going to input information I expect to see on my financial statements. This is stuff like registration numbers, your directors, your nature of your business, all of that information. But client setup also helps me with presentation and disclosure preferences that I want to incorporate in my financials. So I've got two parts to it. Now, a few rules of thumb. All the areas in your client setup that you see, all the fields, they are completely editable, meaning if something happens, client, gets a new director, they need to adjust their nature of business, I am able to go and edit this at any point in time. It doesn't lock. It doesn't prevent me from making changes. I can come back and fix it if I made a mistake, especially if I type terribly, which I do. I'm very grateful I can come back and edit. Now, second rule of thumb is if the information is not relevant or applicable, you don't actually need to fill that in. So for example, Brew can do it. They don't have a trading as name. So if I were to say not applicable or put a 0, it is going to pull through to my financial statements. So when something is not applicable, leave the field blank. Trust me, the financial statements will mark it as not applicable. Right. Now, when it does come to inputting your information, simple. Go and type in the fields that are open for typing, and you can go and input your information. When it comes to dates, so date of signature for my financial statements, for example, let's make it today's date, okay? They're going to sign off today. I've got a calendar. I can select the dates from the drop down. Our very first little sign of presentation and disclosure is actually my currency rounding. So by default, we round to the nearest decimal. That means no cents. So you can import your trial balance as it stands in the accounting software, and we will actually do the rounding. We have 3 categories: bank charges, payables, receivables. You can choose where you want the rounding to go, but at least we'll go and round it in the financial statements. Of course, we can go decimals, thousands, 100,000s, millions, billions, and for some lucky individuals, trillions one day. Okay, so again, you've got your rounding. You just need to select what is relevant to give your client what they are looking for. My nature of business. So I know as accountants, we like complete sentences. So I'll go and I'll say, the company operates as a coffee shop. Okay. That is what my company is doing. So I've put in my complete sentence. That's my nature of business. I'm happy. However, yeah, you'll see I have a little bit of an output. And this output is what it is going to look like in your financial statements. So the very first time we ever talk about the company itself is actually nature of business. So what we've gone and done is we've said, you know what, instead of having to say Brew can do it every time we talk about the company, we're going to mention it once. So we're going to say Brew can do it. The company, because it'll now hereafter always be known as the company does whatever. So if I look at my sentence, Brew can do it, the company operates as a coffee shop, it doesn't quite read how I wanted it to read. So I can go and set this up so that it gives me my desired output. And I can go and spell correctly. Hence, again, showing that I do type way too fast. Right. Now we get to your business registered. And if you're lucky enough to have a post office, a postal address. Now, again, I need to just go and input my information. So I'll go check what my business address is, go input it. And you know what? My actual business address happens to be my postal address, and I do still use it. So now instead of me having to go and type out the exact same information, I do have a lovely little shortcut called copy from business address, which I can simply go and do, and that will pull my information in, saving me a little bit more time because you know me, I like to do things once. Shareholders, directors. I used to not enjoy this when I was in practice because, again, my typing was terrible. And I always used to end up with the guys that had 10 shareholders with the longest surnames, even longer than Drakensberg's Mountains. And they were all the directors too. And I'd end up having to do this at least 3 times because I kept spelling it incorrectly. So now, in instances like that, we have, again, a lovely shortcut that may assist you. So I'll go get my CPC documents and I'll look at my shareholders, and I'm now going to input our lovely shareholders. So I have Miss Happy Cake. Okay. She is one of our lovely shareholders today. She has a 50% shareholding, and I don't actually need to fill out the rest of the information. If I would like to fill it in, I am more than welcome to. But for now, I'm just going to keep it simple. My next shareholder is just Mr. Mochaccino over here. He is our main signatory as well. So I'm going to input his information, input his holdings, and press enter. So remember, green, filter, orange, enter the information you want to pull through to Draftworx. Great. Got my shareholders in. Look at my lovely CPC document. Well, would you look at that? They're also the directors. So again, me and my one input thing. Well, let's go for it. Shareholders, I've put in, I want them to go to the directors. There is a shortcut called copy shareholders to directors. And will you look at that? It's pulled in all my information. Okay. Now, the only information it doesn't pull down is your holding. So if you fill out your directors first, you can also copy them to your shareholders. Just remember, when it comes to holding, it does require a little bit of input from your side because they might differ. I might have equal shareholding, I might not. So I just need to make sure I input that correctly. So I'm going to say, Mr. Mochaccino here, he has more voting rights than dear Mrs. Okay. Now, we've got appointed and resigned dates. There is a drop down. You are able to go and select it. So dear Miss Cupcake, she joined the firm or the company way back in January 2026. So I will go and select her information. Now, Mr. Mochaccino, I'm just thinking, oh dear, he has the higher holding, and now I'm looking at this, and he also prefers to sign the financial statements off first, okay? He is the senior director, he is the CEO, so he would like to sign first. Now I'm like, oh dear, I have to redo this input because it's in the incorrect order. No, you don't. Never fear, Draftworx is near. I can actually go and say, all right, Mr. Mochaccino, you need to be my director number 1. So I've got all my information is correct. I just make sure I select him. You can see he's selected. He's highlighted blue. I have an up and a down arrow. Okay. This enables me to reorder my directors. Same principle for shareholders. You can reorder them simply by going up or down. You don't have to delete and redo. Okay. Financial years. Now, for financial years, we are going to also just cover a bit of management accounts in the advanced section. So I will explain how to utilize this for management accounts. But for today, we're focusing on annual financials. So the number of years to present. By default, it's set to 2. However, I can decrease it to 1 for any of those single year startup companies. I can also increase it up to 5 tax years for those instances where maybe something's been restated or you have to show your 5 years. However, the minute you increase beyond the 2, only the following is affected: your balance sheet, your income statement, your equity. We go and automatically activate those extra columns for you so that you can see them instantly. However, cash flow, detailed income statement notes, because our financial statements follow the guide of the standards, we've done the same thing. Now, if it ever comes to that point where, for example, a client says, the bank needs my detailed income statement for the last 3 years, we have a lovely support team that will be able to show you how to do this. And I joke not. I never joke. Okay, I do some jokes, but not when it comes to Draftworx. It's a copy, paste, click a button, and you get your 3 years. Okay, so hop onto our support team. They'll show you the quick little trick. And before you know it, you're going to be a guru and, creating the most magical set of financials you have ever seen. So back to your annual financial statements. Yes, when you create the file, please note it will create the tax year ended. So I said 2026, which is a February year end. However, should you need to change that because you're a school and, the year end is December, or I've got a September year end, all of those lovely little year ends that give us a bit of a headache, right? Click on the calendar. It's going to give me a warning. Don't worry. Don't freak out. You haven't broken it. We're just casually saying, please don't override this date if you intend to do management accounts, okay? Only change the date to match your year end. So if I'm not a February year end, I will change these dates. If I'm doing management accounts, I will do something a little bit different, which we will cover in advanced. Okay. Additional disclosures. So as you can see, we have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of fields to fill in. But what did I say? Only fill in what you want to see on your financial statements. The rest, we will handle. Now we get to this lovely little section called firm details. This rings a little bit of a bell. I remember filling firm details in settings. So, like I said, I like to do things once. So that firm details in your settings. If you leave these fields blank, all that information you filled in your settings is actually automatically going to pull through to your financial statements as the main preparer or / signatory, however you would like to refer to this. If you are in one of those big firms where I have 3 different partners and they're all responsible for different engagements, over here where you've got your firm signatory, you can go and input the respective partner's name. Leave the other fields blank because it's automatically going to pull all that information in for you. So I am not going to complete my firm details so we can see that in practice. My additional practice. Oh dear, Brew Can Do It is audited. And would you look at that? They are audited by our lovely firm, Audit. Oh, where's it? And a box of cookies. Surprisingly. Okay, so I will go and fill in my additional practice details. This is for cases where I need more than one report signed off in my financial statements. So I've got audit and a box of cookies. My signatory is the dear old Cookie Monster. He loves to sign off our financials. What is the firm? He's a registered auditor. What is their role? They are going to be my auditors. Okay. All right. And of course, they can report as I can go and set that up. And of course, his designation is RA, registered auditor, or he could just be CM for Cookie Monster. Who knows? He might want to change it. Additional practice address. Yes, I want that pulled through. Why? Because this is going to pull through to my financial statements automatically for me, leaving me with less manual work to go and do. Yay. Less manual work means more automation, means quicker files pushed out. Layout. So remember I said Presentation and disclosure also kind of helps me when I'm looking at my setup. So in the event that you've got a different client that requires their balance sheet in a different format, and you're looking at it and you're going, I don't know how to rebuild this. Never fear, we are here. Here's your balance sheet format. We've got the default non-current and current, but you can also go and select order of liquidity if it so happens that that is what your client requires. We get a lot of these coming through where the accounting policies are not separated. They're actually included with the notes. So there you can see, you can combine them with notes. So there's lots of little options here, depending on what your client's needs are to select. And yes, when you are using us for the first time, I'm not going to lie, I used us for the first time and I was like, what does this button do? It happened a lot. I think I drove our support team back then quite crazy because I was always asking, but what does this do? So the thing is, you're going to have a look at it. And if it's not giving you the output that you want, check if it's available in your layout or visual. Check with our support. Never fear. Okay, our support is near. If you are in doubt, ask us, do you by any chance have this? Instead of going through the whole motion of spending hours looking for something, and I promise you there's a little button hidden and it just makes your life lickety-split. There's your financials done. Okay, so again, visuals. Are you preference to having capitalized headings? Do you like your detailed income statement to show all the expenses as positives instead of in brackets? Whatever you want, you click the button, it will give you what you're looking for. And if it's not giving you what you're looking for, you can check with us and say, hey, what's happening? So again, I'm able to set it all up within my client setup. I've got other popular ones we normally get. So your SOCI, do you want it presented by function, by nature? And for all the IFRS files, IFRS 17, okay, that's available. So here, again, I'm not spending hours trying to make my income statement look in the nature because now it's set as function. Go click a button. Seconds later, you've got exactly what you were looking for. Cash flow. We all know when cash flow is mentioned, like our backs shiver and, the spirit of Jack Sparrow is running around in the back end there stealing all your financials. So don't worry. Today, we are going to hopefully tackle what we call the cash flow scary part. But of course, two different ways you can look at cash flow: indirect, direct method. Choose the option that you are required to report on. Okay, and we've got those available for you. Last little thing is naming conventions. So the best way I explain naming conventions is this. You know, the lovely control, find, replace function, either in Word, Excel, or anything like that, right? Well, this lovely little naming conventions is kind of that, but on a broader scale. It does a lovely global find, replace for you. So when I was going through frameworks, for example, I did not see something that would help me do a cooperative, for example. Now, of course, I need to decide, is the co-op reporting in accordance with IFRS or IFRS or SME? And what is my most closest framework that I would need to do? Once I've decided that, my naming conventions is going to help me, is going to enable me to change that word company to cooperative. And then just like that, you open your financials and wherever you expected to see the word company, it will now be cooperative. You can change your applicable act. You can change your directors to trustees, wizards, whatever they want to be known as. Okay, don't do wizards. I don't think, Companies Act will support that. But, ideally, you can change it to set it up to how you need that specific disclosure in your financial statements. Right, let's save this lovely work that we've done. I don't see a save button. Oh dear. How do I save? Aha. Here comes the next beauty of client setup. Everything you do is a live push to your financial statements. and automatically saved. So I'm going to close that, and I'm going to be rest assured when we open our financials, we're going to see all that lovely information. Okay, let's dive into the part that I know everyone loves to do. It's the trial balance. Why the trial balance? Well, without the trial balance, I'm going to have a very boring looking set of financials, won't I? It's not going to tell me what the client's performance looked like. So I need my trial balance. Now, when you open your trial balance, and also just a disclosure, if we may, or disclaimer. Yeah, disclaimer is a better one. When you set up your file for the first time, everything I've just done in client setup, everything we're about to do in our trial balance and later in our financials is remembered. Okay. That means next year, I don't have to redo all this process. I just have to update it to make it relevant to next year's information. So yes, when I create a file for the very first time, I will have one calendar here. Because also we can't assume if you're using us for the first time to do 2026's apps and that was their startup. No, we always just include the current year because there will be a reason for a current year. But now it's up to me to say, well, where are my comparatives? I need 2025's figures. I've got to comply with the standards. So here we go. I have an add prior year. Again, if anyone ever watched Dexter's Lab, what does this button do? Well, click it. And it's going to add my 2025 tax year. Yay, I've got my comparatives. Now for a tip or a lovely recommendation from us. And you'll see why when we cover that dreaded flow. Okay. When it comes to the cash flow, we actually do recommend, if possible, and you have the information available, to add a third year. Nicole, why on earth are we adding a third year? We only need to see 2026 and 2025 in my clients' financials. They've already got their 2025, which shows their 2024. So why must I waste time on an extra year? Well, to be honest, by having my 3 tax years here, I'm ultimately helping me a little bit later down the line with my cash flow because we actually rely on having that third year to calculate the movement. Because if you think about it, cash flow is what? Current year less prior year movement, which when I have 2026 and 2025, easy peasy lemon squeezy calculates it. But if I don't have 2024, I can't just assume that my payables had a movement of 10,000 because that's what the balance was in 2025. In actual fact, it could have been 300,000. Who knows? We don't unless we include that third year. So that is why we go with a 3-year recommendation. Don't have to follow it. It does just make life a little bit easier. Okay. Now, of course, we've got import options. Today, I am focusing on a spreadsheet. In advanced, I will do a little bit of a direct import. So for all our QuickBooks, Sage users, Xero users, I will show a couple of tips and tricks on that on Thursday. But for now, I want a spreadsheet because my dear Mr. Brew can do it. They're, still running their books in Excel. So I'm going to use my spreadsheet. Now I will go and I will find my trial balance and I'm going to select it. Now, what you would note is I'm on the tax year 2024. So I'm actually starting with the third year and I'm going to import from third year to current year. And then we're going to look at the process called linking. Now, don't fear, I'm here to walk us through that. But I need information to get there. So let's pull in my 2024. Now, when it comes to Excel trial balances, please don't think your trial balance has to look like mine. It does not, okay? We're only interested in key information, such as an account number, an account name, and of course, your debit and credits. Why? Well, we need to know what the values were. So you'll see, I just need that at a minimum. Doesn't matter what format it is in, as long as I am able to tell it which column directly relates to that particular information we're requiring. So let's look at account numbers. Do my account numbers have to be numbers? No. As long as my account number is something that is unique, i.e., I don't have duplicate 1,000 accounts, it has to be unique. Otherwise, it's a duplication and we pick it up and we don't import it properly. It can be numbers, letters, numbers, forward slashes, hyphens, however you want it, as long as it's unique. The second thing we like it to be is consistent, because why would I want to have to import my trial balance this year where account 1,000 in this case was coffee sales, but next year account 1,000 is bank charges. Now I have a mismatch in years and I have to redo that process. So generally something that's unique, consistent. That's all we're looking for. And it can also be the account name, guys. It doesn't matter as long as it's unique, consistent. So now I just need to tell it what info I want. Assign account number, choose my column. Assign account name, find my column. Now I see, okay, debits and credits. So I'm bringing in my 2024. Here's my 2024 info. It's in one column. So I can actually select my information or my figures in one column. It does distinguish between the debits and credits based on the sign. Credits being negatives, debits being positives. And now I'm going to go and say, all right, I'm going to import into my opening balance. And simply just say import. Ooh, I'm seeing some information. So now let's do 2025. So same process. Go find that spreadsheet. Go tell it, all right, where's my 2025 info? So assign account number. Got it. Assign account name. Got it. Where's my 2025 figures? Column A. So I'm going to go and choose that. And again, simply just going to tell the system to import. There we go. Now we've got 2025 in. We're building up, guys. We're getting there. 2026, last year that we're going to import, and then we are going to tackle linking. So 2026 is spreadsheets. I go find this one, assign account number, assign account name. Well, we look at that. I've got my debits and my credits in two different columns. So you see, we don't have to have it in a specific format as long as we know what column is your debit, what column is your credit, and that the two balance. Okay? Import. Why is it shouting at me? So it tells me the table does not balance. Do I want to continue? So behind the scenes, my lovely little trial balance here actually has more than 2 decimals, and I'm actually out with a 0.0003 cents. Okay. Please, if your trial balance shows that it's balancing here, you can continue. It is not going to prevent your information from pulling in. The dead giveaway that your trial balance does not balance is this bottom line where it says 34 entries. If those are not all 0, your trial balance is not balancing. Okay. So please don't worry about that little error message. It's just warning us that there's potentially a difference. And to be honest, it's just based on decimals. Okay. So don't panic, please. We just kind of letting you know that there's possibly something not balancing. If you are happy to proceed, you can see I've got a balanced TB. Now we get to linking. Now, this one has come from, I know how some of maybe the new clerks watching today, any newbies, I know it is daunting when it comes to the idea of linking. And why is that? And it's simply this. And I can promise you, every single Draftworx support team member had the same experience you are having. So did I. Okay, we'll exclude the guys that actually created Draftworx, but we all had this same approach. We had to get used to the idea of linking. So I just want to pull up our slides. Sorry, I had to put that there. Okay, so when it comes to linking, what is linking actually? So linking is the whole process of going and saying, what? Every single trial balance entry, it needs to be disclosed correctly, either to balance sheet or income statement, okay? Then you kind of think of it like this. I'm giving every single trial balance entry a home in my financial statements. So my goal is to find my best possible closest match to account for that, to ensure it's going to where I want it to go. So understanding my financial statement structure will help me navigate those treacherous waters when it comes to linking. Now, your balance sheet, your income statement, they're organized into what we call categories. Okay, so that's the broad section used to classify information. Running off a few on the top of my head, non-current assets or tax. They're a classification. My umbrella line items, they're a main account within a category. So category, non-current asset. I get property, plant, and equipment. That is my umbrella. It's property, plant, and equipment. But property, plant, and equipment is made up of further things, which then becomes your specific classification, the more detailed breakdown of that umbrella account. So the structure is there to try and understand your financial statements. So if I have a general idea of where my TV line item should go, and I use the categories as my navigating kind of force, I should be able to negotiate these treacherous waters. Now, for example, understanding my link number. Okay, it is broken down like this. So I've got a lovely example here because a lot of us do obviously have assets. So I've got NA.030.000. Now, NA is my abbreviation for the category, i.e., where does this item go to the financials? The 030 is my umbrella, right? So in this case, it's property, plant, and equipment. And I want it to be motor vehicles. So it goes and it gives me property, plant, and equipment, motor vehicles. My last 3 digits are my specific classification. Well, what part of motor vehicles is this amount? Is it the cost? Is it is it accumulated depreciation? Is it the fair value? Who knows? I need to go and classify that. Now, each section of your link provides you with a more detailed level of classification. Now, here are our categories. I'm going to run through them in Draftworx, but these slides will be available to everybody. So you will have these notes. But basically, my links split between balance sheet and income statement items. The abbreviation represents the type of category. So for example, and I'm just going to explain it on the sheet. You'll see I have a current. You'll see I have a non-current. But hold on. We also have current assets and current liabilities, as well as the non-current equivalents. So what is the purpose of a current or a non-current? So you know those flexible accounts you get? Bank, loan, tax, VAT, where they all have that dreaded possibility of being both an asset or a liability? Well, that link enables me to obviously have, it broken down a little bit better. So your current and your non-current, the reason it's there is so that if I have this year VAT payable, but last year it was a VAT asset, you don't have to worry about doing any unnecessary journals and creating an asset account and keeping a liability account separately. We tackle that in the financials. And your income statement, again, breaks down per category. Other comprehensive income. You'll see that when we look at it, we get OCAs, Ds, Ls, Qs, and Ts. So what do they all mean? Well, when I'm looking at where I want that other comprehensive income to go, is it related to assets? Is it related to deferred tax? Was it related to liabilities? Is the Q related to equity? Is the T related to taxes? Okay. So once I have that little breakdown, I know where to kind of go. So let's apply this now in practice. Now, when it comes to linking, we actually do have 2 shortcuts. You have automatic and smart linking. Now, I will use this a little bit later, but if you do use your automatic or your smart, rest assured, you do need to review it, because depending on your client, you may need to disclose it separately to where the assumption has gone. So this is an assumption based. So you just need to make sure that it is verified to where you want it to go. Now, how do I actually do this linking? So I click on show or hide link numbers, and I'm going to swing my link numbers a little bit more across so we can see a bit more of them. Right, linking. So remember what we said. We want to find something that is going to go to where we expect to see it in the financials. So my very first line is sales Kofi. So where would I think my sales Kofi go? Well, I know it's going to go to revenue, which is on my income statement. And I know that it's going to form part of income. So remember your green bar, great filter. Also, if you like a couple of shortcuts, you can simply click on the word category and simply drag and drop it so that it filters all your categories and you can search it that way. Depends on user. You might want to use it this way. You might want to not use it this way. It works either way. So I can go and see there's my category. There's my income. I can go look for my respective link accounts. So that is one way to filter your categories. Alternatively, I know that my revenue needs to go on my income statement. So I can go and filter only income statement items. I can go and look for my category where I know revenue is going to go. So where would I expect that? Income. Great. Now I've filtered all my income items, and these form part of your gross profit section on your income statement. So now I see, right, revenue. Okay, so we've got income, 000, main umbrella, 001, specific classification. Okay, so my sales Kofi. Now, I'm happy to go and use I00001 for them. Now, this disclosure description column, this is exactly how you will see it in your detailed income statement and your notes to the financials. So my sale of goods, I'm going to go and say, all right, sale of goods, I actually want to change this so that it explains it's Kofi. Okay, because I'm going to have multiple income statements at a stage. So for now, I want to be able to disclose it how I intend to see it. I'm going to go and add Kofi. Press enter. Now, how do I get this lovely little link, which in my mind is my best possible closest match to where I expect to see it in my income statement? I make sure that my sales Kofi is selected. Again, when it's selected, it's got that lovely blue going through it. Find the link I want, double click, and there we go. I've assigned my link. Now I've got dictionaries. Okay, what about that? If I go and use I00.002, it is going to form part of my umbrella being Kofi sales. Not quite what I want. So I need to go and find my next best link. And in this case, it was I001. That's my next umbrella. You are now going to become, and I'm just going to shorten it to treats. I don't feel like writing confectionaries all the way out. So I'm going to say treats. Press enter, and there we go. Now, how do I get him linked? Well, there we go. Double click. I've selected it. Whew. This is turning out a little bit easier than I thought. Okay, great. What's my next item? Art and decor kit. Interesting little coffee shop here. We also sell some art and probably some icing kits for the biscuits. Okay. Now, this actually isn't part of my revenue and my gross profit. This is going to be other income. All right. Now what do I do, guys? So I'm going to go and see. Do I have other income? Oh, I do. Okay. So now I can say, all right, I've got sundry income. There's fees. There's commission. Is that anything relative to my art and decor? Not really. So I see, okay, wait, there we go. What's this? Other income, 1. It's not turnover related, so it's not going to be part of your GP, but the description's other income. But what have we learned? I can change my disclosure looking for. So We're going to go other income. We're going to call it art. My next one, other income. I'm just going to quickly name him, and then we're going to select it. We're going to go with the decor kits. Okay. So I found what I want. Happy. Now I just need to link it. So find the link you want. Double click. There we go. Last one. Double click. There we go. Yeah. Okay. In terms of your purchases, please note when it comes to your cost of sales and your purchases, very much like your revenue, you would want, in this case, sales Kofi and purchases Kofi to be aligned. So there's my cost of sales, 000,001. That's what I would like for purchases Kofi. Why? Because I know it's relative to where my sales allocation is going. So I'll go and double click on that one. My purchases confectionaries, same principle, kind of wanted to go in line with my sales goods treats. So I'll go find cost of sales 1001 and double click. Okay, what happens when I've got a case like this? Look at all these repairs and maintenance accounts. Oh, do I have to do this line by line by line? Goodness, we'll be here all day. We're not going to be here all day, guys. Don't worry. So I'm going to select the top one. In this case, they're so nicely put together. But if your items were a little bit disorganized, i.e. some were here at the top, some at the bottom, you can always hold in control and select individually. So you'll see now I've got 2 selected. Alternatively, if they are so lovingly put together in a nice little order here, you can hit control and then just go to shift and click to the last one, and it will select your whole group. Now, where do we want repairs and maintenance to go? Well, it's an expense. So let's see if we can find repairs. Hey, presto, there's some repairs. Is it going to match that whole principle of mine of best possible closest match? Yes, it is. Double click it. Aha! Did all of that in one click. And this is looking so great. I'm so excited. Happy. Okay. Now I am going to use a little bit of the smart linking, guys. Okay. We're going to cover a little bit more with that. So I am going to tell it to please go and help me link my trial balance. Let's have a look at how it does. So I see, all right, bank charges. It's telling me bank charges. Am I happy? Yeah, I am. Okay. Depreciation does say motor vehicles. So you see this lovely double-sided arrow there. It's a little shortcut to that split screen that we had, and I'll see what I've assigned it to. So there we go. E900. So 900 are all my depreciation accounts. The last 3 digits are the specific depreciation account. So motor vehicle, let me quickly check. Yes, I have motor vehicles. I'm happy with this. Don't need to change it. Let's check the next one. Finance, lease, interest, says trade and other payables. So I'm going to click it and I'll see, okay, I've got a whole lot of interest paid. Now, when it comes to interest paid, a tip, if I may, and I'm just going to use my trade and other payables, right, as an example. Now, it looks like I've gone and repeated myself with the interest links. No, I haven't. What I've simply done is I've given me, again, that dreaded cash flow word, options to split my interest. So if my interest happens to be presented as operating, financing, or investing activities, I can go and select the respective one to correctly allocate it. Okay, I have cakes. It's gone to sale of goods. Nope, sorry, our cakes needs to go to expenses. So let's go look for cakes, guys. So now we're going to go and look for cake. Why can I not find cake? Can I find the next one? Cookies. Oh, no. Guys, there's no links for cakes or cookies. This is terrible. There should be, because, I mean, we love them, but there isn't. And it's simply because we are catering for items that are more commonly and standard per the guides, right? And also what tax requires. So I think SARS would have a field day if we told them we were spending this much on cake. But I am spending this much on cake because it is my business. So now what do I do? So again, we're going back to that whole principle. Best possible closest match. So I need an expense. Let's see. And I'm going to search an expense. Maybe I'll find something. And I see a whole load of expenses here. And the truth be told, we've actually used all of these and we can't use them. However, I see that I have other expenses. It's unused. I don't intend on using it or disclosing anything as other expenses. So in this case, with my cakes, I'm going to use other expenses, change my disclosure description to give me my desired output. Cookies, sorry, buddy, you need your own one too. So I'm going to go with the next available unused account, change the description, select, and there we go. Okay, guys, we are almost done with the horrible linking. I know it's always a scary moment, but almost there. And then I think we'll have a little bit of a break before we dive into those financials. So hold on to your horses. The coffee break is coming up. Let's just get through our linking. So telephone to telephone, I'm happy. Security to security, I'm happy. Salaries, happy. Tax expense says tax, and it says current year. Also remember with tax, guys, we do have deferred tax, and then we have tax current. So just make sure you're selecting the correct classification in accordance with what your client requires or what you require if you're a corporate. Okay. Share capital, retained earnings has gone to retained income. Coffee machine's gone to cost of sales. Is that right? No, because that should be a balance sheet item. So here I'm going to go and say, all right, coffee machine. Let's see, where am I going to find that? So I know it's an asset. Let's see if I can find coffee. No, I can't. So I'm going to try with my disclosure description. I'm just going to say fixed asset and see if I can find something. And there's some cost of sale accounts. There's expense accounts, which is your depreciation, your payments. But now I see my NAs, non-current assets. So I've got either fixed asset, says cost owned or leased. So which one do I want? Yes, this is definitely an owned asset. So I'm going to go for it. And I'm going to call it a coffee machinery. There we go. I am happy. Select. I see that my coffee machine accumulated depreciation went to other fixed asset, accumulated depreciation. Happy again. Motor vehicles, they've been assigned to motor vehicles cost and accumulated depreciation. I see I've got a shareholders loan for Miss Cupcake, and it says loans to or from owner, but which owner? Because I need to actually disclose that in my financials. So I'll go and say, all right, and you'll see it's an N account, meaning whether or not this value is positive or negative, it'll take it to assets or liabilities depending on that value. But let me just update my disclosure because I would like to see Miss Cupcake's name on the loan in the notes. So go update her name, select. Accounts receivables, bank account, Frostings Limited. Yep, that's gone to bank balances. I'm happy. Cash on hand, says cash on hand. I'm happy. Ooh, my investment to Donutters has gone to an investment in subsidiary. This isn't a subsidiary. It's just an unlisted investment. We really do love our cakes and treats, guys. I mean, we're in accounting. What else? Coffee, cake, it's the laugh, guys. So I go and I look, let me see if I can find an unlisted investment. Yeah, I see one. Is it current or is it non-current? I would need to make that executive decision. For today, my dear Donutters will be a non-current asset. Okay. My payables to payables. Tax payables to payables. No. They need to go to tax. So again, tax. And here's a tricky one. You'll see I've got taxation, C accounts, CA accounts. When they are C accounts, if it's an asset or liability, it'll do that lovely allocation for you. But if you are unable to set it off, please select the CA or the CL for your allocation. Mine, I'm able to set off. So wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. There we go. And of course, my finance lease is going to a finance lease obligation. I'm happy. So you can see how your smart linking does help you, but does need to be reviewed. Last little trick of the day. Accounting, it's a tricky world out there, guys. And it's simply because things happen in the current year that, shouldn't affect your prior year. But before we dive into that one, I want to show you something. You know that I was only on 2026, right? Look at what my 2025 looks like. It's linked. 2024, it's linked. You don't have to link all 3 years. Just focus on the one and all the years get linked. Now here comes my little trick. Okay. Dear Miss Cupcake, she says to me, hey, Nicole, I'm going to settle that loan in the next 6 months. I don't like people owing me money. I don't like interest. SARS is after me for that interest. So I want the money. Thank you. Okay. So now she's always had a non-current asset or a non-current loan. Okay. So now what am I going to do? Well, I don't want to change my disclosure for the prior years because then the banks are going to ask me, but what happened? And you're going to be like, oh, sorry, it was a mistake. I linked it. No. So it wasn't a restatement. It was a simple just change in current year disclosure. So what I do without affecting my prior year, because as we can see, either using your show or hide or the double-sided arrow and saying select, it affects all your tax years. So let's go to my dear shareholders loan. And I'm actually going to look for Miss Cupcake. And the reason I'm looking for her name is simply this. Installment sale agreements or anything to that effect that has a non-current and current nature attached to it. And you've got 20 installment sale agreements and they all say West Bank 1, West Bank 2, and you're trying to remember which one's current portion belong to which one's non-current portion. Well, the beauty is the minute you change a non-current disclosure or current disclosure, whichever one first, the partner is going to change, making it easy for you to find it once you've edited that disclosure description. We'll speed up that process a bit. So now I find the link I want to use in the current year only. And I'm going to say current only. Okay, that looks nice. If I say select, what's that going to do? 26, 25, 24 will all allocate to current. No. We just want 26 to go there. So current only, hold my breath. I see, okay, shareholders loan is changed to current for 2026. Go to 2025, find my shareholders loan. And would you look at that? It still is a non-current. I don't have to face any scrutinizing questions as to why did you change the disclosure? Well, we didn't. Okay. So just in brief summary with linking. So just remember, try and choose your best possible match. Visualize where you expect to see it in your financials. If an exact match does not exist, find your next most appropriate unused link, update the disclosure description, and always remember C and N link accounts are flexibles. So it kind of prevents unnecessary journals when you have negative balances on your balance sheet. So let's open our financial statements. Why not? So in your financial data, you'll see that I've obviously got my IFRS SME plus financials. Let me do some investigating here. And we're going to dive into a few more tricky areas that we always seem to encounter. Okay, now each and every one of these lovely little tabs I see on my screen represents the content of my financials. Now, this means I can go and actually select what I need to distribute to the client or the third party in question. So you will see we have a tab here called content. And when I see all these lovely words, they all relate to the sheets at the bottom. When they are blue like this, they are active. They will print as part of your final PDF version. So if I do not want it to be part of my financials, or if I see something grayed out, like the secretary or the committee or the notice in this respect, and I want it included, I just need to go and click on it once, either to activate or deactivate. So I'm going to have a look at mine. I'm going to say, yep, status, cover, index, info, response. Yes, I want that. Directors, a sustainability report. So yes, we do provide sustainability reports. Yes, you can quickly go and update by adding info in the relevant sections. You can copy and paste from Excel and Word into your relevant heading, should this be applicable. I, however, do not require it for this example. So I'm going to deactivate it by clicking on it once. I now see I have an audit, a review, a compilation, officer psycho report. Okay, which report do I need to include in my final set? So we know we're getting auditors, so I'm going to keep my audit report on, but I'm not doing an independent review. So I do not include the report review. I'm going to keep my compilation because I need to sign that. My officer report, deactivate, psycho report, deactivate. So I've selected the relevant reports to this engagement. Okay, let's have a look at the next ones. It's going to use the side arrow here to expand my list a bit so we can see everything. I've got balance sheet, income statement, equity, cash flow, accounting policy, notes, detailed income statement, a lovely little ratio analysis. Great input for your clients, because if this was a bit negative or looking a little bit sad, you'd have to warn them that they're heading into a little bit of some liability issues potentially. It just gives them more value to the financial services. You do not have to use this if you don't want to. It is there in the event you'd like to use it. Of course, we do provide a tax calc. Okay, this is more of a check to what your tax should be. Okay, this does not directly move the tax to your detailed income statement. So when I have got my tax checked, if it is not agreeing to what's on my income statement, I would be required to process journals. And then, of course, I see this ITR 14. Okay, so when we're talking tax, we currently integrate with GradeSoft, TaxBox, ACFIN. So I can push my information through to one of those softwares. And then, of course, my tax return can be submitted a little bit quicker. However, if I don't use one of those, we do have the ITR 14 available, which is manual at the moment, but you can print it. It's summarize your financial statements in accordance with how you linked your financial statements and basically matches up with everything on your e-filing tax return. We'll identify the size of the business based on those regulations. You can then at least have a 2-page report instead of a 36-page, trying to work out how did I get to that horrendous other expenses. I know when I did tax calcs and tax returns, I used to hate working out other expenses. I am grateful this exists. Okay, so you do have it available should you wish to use it. I'm going to deactivate it for now because I just want a simple standard set of financials for today. But I don't know about you guys. Checklist doesn't seem like it should be included in my financial statements. Last I checked, it starts with a cover page. So what's the checklist all about? Your checklist is basically that. It is a disclosure checklist. So if you're on IFRS or IFRS for SME, you're able to open the section, go find the relevant section in query that you might, want to know, how do I disclose this? Or maybe where did Draftworx disclose this? I can go expand the section. Here is your minimum disclosure. Here is where Draftworx has applied it. I can find it. Also, please, if you can't find the respective note you are looking for, our support team will be able to help you find that, because it might just be worded differently to what you are used to or how it has been presented previously. So whenever in doubt, just give us a call. We're happy to help you. That's why we're here. Now, status sheet. Okay, this little guy is going to get some of our attention because he does cause a little bit of gray hairs. And it's solely because what the status sheet is doing is effectively doing a cross-cast check. So in other words, it's reading my balance sheet all the way to my tax calc. Okay. And then it says to me, yo, Nicole, it's not talking to each other. Why? So now you go, I don't know, you tell me. So let's break the status down. When you see your status with a couple of differences, please don't have heart attacks. I promise you, every issue always has a solution to it. Okay. So let's break it down a little bit by little bit. Let's eat the cake in little portions. Okay. So when I see, for example, I know this is a dreaded cash flow. Okay. When I see that, I always instinctively say, you know what, cash flow, you're going to get my attention last. And that's simply because of how Draftworx works the cash flow. We've automated it. So remember that, okay? Now, ironically, I see that my assets are out with 112 and so are my cash flows. So I can see the two are kind of talking to each other. So already there, I'm like, okay, maybe if I go fix this, I can solve that problem. So generally, a few tips about this is if you see your cash flow out of balance, okay, if it happens to mathematically equate, and if I take the sum of all of this, you'll see at the bottom right-hand corner, it actually tells me how many items are included. It gives me a count. It tells me what the sum is. And if that sum equals what my cash flow is, and if I had a retained earnings issue, it would give me also a bit of a cash flow headache. Okay, we will be covering that. I'd be able to go and focus on those areas, and I know my cash flow is going to correct itself. Usually when I see cash flow differences, it's either one of two issues. I only have 2 tax years, or I need to input non-cash flow movement, Okay, so cash flow, we're going to cover in a little bit. Let's focus on our dear PPE. So again, we have a lovely slide. So let's get him involved. So what is a reconciliation? Okay, so we normally start with an opening balance, which has movements in the year, giving us a closing balance, mathematically, of course. And then that should hopefully match to your year-end trial balance, which is feeding to your balance sheet. And when it doesn't, that is when I have a reconciling difference. So basically, that is what this is telling me. What's on my trial balance is feeding into what's on my balance sheet, but my note is not. Okay, so let's go break down that note a bit more. So basically, any reconciling note has the similar principle I'm about to explain. Of course, we have our opening balances. So where did Draftworx summon these figures from? None other than my prior year trial balance. Why? Well, if I ended last year on 330, I would hope to start on 330. So we can safely go and assume that, pull the information in. So I'll see, okay, there's my motor vehicles, there's my coffee machine, giving me my total. Great. Right. Then we get the movements. Now the movements, this, my dear friends, is where the trouble normally lies. Okay. So when it comes to a recon, movements actually have 2 tricky parts to it. You get movements that affect your income statement. So if we're looking at an asset, we know for a fact depreciation is on my income statement. How do I know that for a fact? Well, I have to disclose depreciation. And lucky for me, what is it? It is on my trial balance. So it's easily identifiable. Okay. So movement that's hitting your profit and loss, that's easily identifiable and not complex in nature, is quite easily picked up by Draftworx. So why am I still not balancing, Nicole? Well, there's other movements. Now, the other movements are when you have balance sheet movement to balance sheet movement. So what am I talking about there? I'm talking about things like if I go from 330 and I end the year with 415,000. So even if we look at it from a trial balance perspective. There, I've got, okay, I'm in my depreciation. So let me actually just pull up my assets here. Okay. Last year, I was at 330. I went to 415. Is it safe for us to just assume that because I had an 85,000 Rand increase, it is solely additions? No. Okay. It could be that I sold my vehicle for 330, bought a new pretty pink one for 415,000 because I just like pink. And then I've got additions of 415, disposals of 330. Now, these lovely dark blue cells that you see in any recon, they require your input because they need to be allocated as to the nature of the movement, which you have knowledge of. So then you'll go and say, all right, what actually happened? Why did I go from 330 to 415? And as motivating as that speech was, mine is literally just additions. Apologies. So I'm going to go and put my additions of 85,000 in. Yes, 330 plus 85 should give me 415. It does. Why do I still have a difference? We're going to dive into that in a second. Let's go look at my lovely Kofi machine. So again, opening balance, prior TB. Did I have any movement? Check my asset register. Oh, we purchased a part for 27,000 this year. Go put him in. Okay. Yep. Now I'm agreeing, except I'm still not. So my mathematical closing balances over here, okay, they are not agreeing to what is truly on the trial balance for that specific asset category. And why is that? So let's dive into it a little bit more. I see, all right. Let's do this from a maths point of view. 330 plus 85. Yes, it gives me 415. That gives me my cost. Happy days. 116 plus 100, because that's my depreciation, should give me 216,000 in depreciation. But wait, my asset register says 179. Ooh, I've overstated depreciation. Have I done something wrong with linking? So depreciation is a bit tricky. If your depreciation only has one line item, then yes, I can only link it to one depreciation expense account. So I'm faced with two possibilities to correct this. One, I can add a trial balance entry here. So I can go and say, well, 3301. I'm going to add depreciation. I'm just going to abbreviate, guys, because I don't want to keep you here all day. So I'm going to go into depreciation copy. See, my spelling is absolutely terrible. I'm going to go with the link. Where did I want this? Well, I know my depreciation's 900 because I can see E900. So I'm going to go look for E900s. Where does this one belong to? It belongs to my coffee machine, which I had declared as an other fixed asset. Why do I want it to go there and not any other link? Well, I want it to go to the correct allocation. So I'll go and select it. And I've created my new link. Now I can go and do a journal. So financial data, journal entries. And now I'm going to go and say, great, let's move that depreciation. So I go give it a description. I can go use a reference. And I press enter. And now I've got my normal journal. And there's a double-sided arrow. I can go quickly select my accounts. So my coffee, I think my depreciation was 36,800. We're going to see how good my memory is. And then we're going to go and reallocate it out of the main depreciation account. And let's hold our breath. Not too long, because there we go. I see my change already. So now, yes, mathematically, 235, 200, it's agreeing to 235, 200. In other words, it's reconciling. So I've corrected my first year. Let's look at my status. Yes. No cash flow issue, no PPE issue, but I still have a problem in the prior year. But why? Okay, so remember, reconciling notes. We have current years, but we also have prior years. Now, just a tip for everybody, or a trick, or a lovely disclaimer, if you may, when doing a file for the first time, yes, you are going to complete the current year reconciliation and you're going to complete the prior year reconciliation. But the best part is when you do a roll forward, Draftworx handles the prior year for you. So you're ultimately only focusing on the current year files, which we will discover in a little bit. So again, same principle. Now, again, why do those 3 years help me? Well, where did I get my opening balances from here? None other than the third trial balance. Okay, so again, it helps me. Now I just need to go and update my additions. I think that's correct. I should be out for 35 and 35, yes. Now, in this case, I'm going to show another slight trick, okay? You see these lovely little yellow cells. We call them rounding corrections, okay? Now, the rounding corrections, you can actually use to adjust certain amounts. So in this case, I'm not going to go process a prior year journal. I'm doing my current year, but I can use my yellow cells to adjust my value. But I need to make sure if I am using it on my PPE note that my depreciation at the end of the day actually agrees to my depreciation on my detailed income statement. Otherwise, I'm not using these yellow cells correctly. So I go move my depreciation to where I want it to be. Okay. I no longer have a difference there, but 87,000 is talking back to my detailed income statement of 87,000. Because remember, you want these to talk back to the notes. 87, there's my 100. Why? Because that is what is on your trial balance, guys. So they're all connected. Okay. So again, if we just jump to our notes here. So there we go. We've seen that your opening balances, they're automatic. Your movements, anything that is able to be identified automatically will pull through. But complex or balance sheet movements, blue input cells, they will save your day. And again, same principles apply to any recon note. Of course, when it comes to depreciation, we've covered that. Always just do a final check that you ensure your total depreciation agrees to the detailed income statement. Because when we do, and when we jump back to our status, we're now going to have 2 less problems. Because now, no cash flow issue at this perspective, no PPE issue at this perspective. Okay, right. Now, let's have a look at a few other things. See, though, I have an email that requires urgent attention from Pumi, but we're going to get to that in a second. So what I want to kind of finish off with here is this. Now, obviously, I'm just going to turn our status sheet off for now because I'm not going to use it, okay? But I've got my cover page, I've got my index. It tells me that my page numbers need to be previewed to be updated. Okay, when you see that, it's just simply saying, look, we'll calculate your page numbers the minute you do a full financial statement preview. I'm not going to do one now, okay? General info. You'll see this is the information that is pulled through from where? The client setup. Okay. So now I'm going to do a little bit of a preview I like to see, and it's called live. And it gives me an indication as to what this is going to look like when I print it. So I see, okay, there I've got my directors, my shareholders. Business and postal address are a bit repetitive. For me, I actually want to, neaten this up per se. I've got 2 ways to show my tax numbers, and then I've got 2 ways to disclose chartered accountant, or do I want to be known as a preparer? And there's my lovely auditors. Okay, so how do I hide information I don't want to see? So by doing this, I go and I have a look. Here's my business address. Okay, I see that business address is in line with a square with a minus. These squares with minuses or squares with pluses that you see are what we call a grouped note. They are spread throughout the financials, and it simply enables you to open or close a note you wish to disclose or not disclose. So in this case, I don't want my postal address. I don't want the display of reference numbers. I want to just see tax number. And I don't want to see chartered accountant. I want to see preparer, and I see brew can do it. And there's my audit and a box of cookies. Okay. And that was my live preview set up greatly. Right. There is my director's report. Now we're going to look at just a different way of showing and hiding things before we have to urgently look at this email we got. Okay. Oh, I really don't like urgent emails, but I'm getting pinged nonstop on my phone, so Pumi is desperate. So let's just have a look at the director's report quickly. Now, what you'll notice in the live preview, right? I can see, okay, director's report. I've got my going concern. I've got the annual financial statements. So going concern, annual financial statements. Great stuff. But Nicole, why do I have the directors have satisfied themselves not showing on my note? I need to disclose this particular paragraph or this particular note. But I can see it in Draftworx, but I can't see it when I print it. What's the deal? So when you see the lovely light blue little shading going through a sentence, a paragraph, or anything, it simply means it's a placeholder that you may need to use or may not need to use. So it's up to you to decide, do I want to disclose this or not? If I would like to disclose this, design, show row, and there I know that this is going to print. So I'll keep my live preview open so we can see my changes in real time. There we go. Now I can see that the directors are happy. They're in a sound financial position. All right, let's activate another row and do something else. So I'm going to show it again. Now I've got 2 rows. Woo, this is cool. I can show things. I can choose to hide them if I want to. So I have the power. Now that is why Draftworx is cool. The power is in your hands. Now I have a director and they have a particular disclosure they want to change. So they might want to edit an existing one. So I can quite easily edit. Okay. My forward slashes and backslashes keep popping up today. So we're just going to leave it there. They might want to add something completely new. So I don't want to actually mess with Draftworx's one because, I might need that one day. So format, or actually, design, insert rows. And I can say, well, let me insert 2 rows because I would like the spacing to continue. And great, add my own. Haha. I like this. Also keep in mind, you can copy and paste from Excel and Word and it's all accepted. Now, I have a particular cat that really likes to go and walk all over my keyboard and send people emails that it shouldn't. True story. Now, it's done this to my Draftworx, or I've accidentally thought I was editing something and I shouldn't have. And I only pick this up tomorrow because Clarissa says to me, Nicole, what were you on yesterday? This isn't what we needed. And I'm like, oh, good grief. It was a cat. The whole dog ate my homework story. The cat edited my homework. Yes, it did. So how do I fix this, guys? What's the easiest way to fix this? Again, Draftworx, power in your hands. Template tools, my favorite button. Refresh rows from template. Now, don't panic. This is not going to change the whole document. It's only going to change the one you want to go back to what Draftworx had. So refresh rows from template. Yes. And hey, presto. My sentence is back. My cat gets to live another day. My changes remain unaffected. I'm able to edit. Now, let me just quickly pull up my email because I can see even more panic is ensuing. So let's just see what is going on in the background here. Wait, now I've lost my email. 1 second, guys. My email decided to crash. Typical accounting world, when you need something the most, it crashes. Okay, let me pull up my email. Apologies. Okay, so I get an email from Kumi, and everyone that knows him from the beginning of the year. He helped Mr. Kofi out with his financials of Brewco Pty Limited. A lot of coffee was there. Oh my goodness, this is scary. I have never seen so much panic in one email. So let's see what it says. So Pumi, he needs to do his magic. SARS and the shareholders are firmly attached to something, and I'm going to lose it. You guys need to do these things in seconds, and I need saving pronto. Tax season's in full force. I need the apps yesterday. The entire group is needed. Oh, he's bolded it. This is getting scary. Please, can you also do a comparison of coffee and treats for me? I heard you mention something about this. I owe you coffee and cake after the SARS floods have ended. Oh, okay. What did Pumi tell me? Oh dear. Pumi's on leave, guys. Mr. Kofi's in a state. Are we going to be able to help him out? Of course we can. So, I'm going to get paid in tons of cake. So I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting cake at the end of this. Okay. So what do I do? Now, we are going to continue with Brew Can Do It on Thursday. So don't panic. We will finish our lovely story about Mrs. Cuppy Cake. Okay. But let's quickly get that out. So I'm going to save my financials. Yes, I do have an auto save, but I can save my financials. And we're going to jump back to my client list. You can use that little folder at the top. You can go to the client list over here on your logo. Entirely up to you. Now I see, okay, I've got Brewco. Yes, okay, at least Pumi has shared the file with me. So I'm going to go and open it. However, that is my 2025 file. Okay. Now, unfortunately, okay, I need to do 2026. So what are we going to do, guys? Well, we're going to do a rollover. So let's just quickly have a squiz at his financials. I just want to make sure everything's good. Okay, I see we're at the note. Status, all cleared. Okay, so these were definitely signed off. I'm happy. I'm actually going to close the financials. No, I'm not going to save these. I'm happy with how they are. Jump into my client setup, and I'm going to go do a year-end close. All right. Now, I'm going to do the financial roll forward, and we're going to see if we can get Mr. Kofi's financials out in the next 30 minutes, okay? Because I see he's really freaking out. SARS must be on a mission. I know their auto assessments are. So let's see if we can help him. All right. Now, when I do a roll forward, so this could also apply to all of you users that are using it for the first time, but someone's previously done the financial statements. Okay. So now I've got to do a rollover, and I've got to trust the process. So let's have a look at this process. Financials, copy current financials. Why do I want to do that? Well, I want to make sure that the financials look exactly like they did last year. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I've got an option here to clear non-template financials. Now, in 2025, we had the audit report as well as a whole lot of other documents that I don't want carried forward from my financial data. So I'm going to say, don't carry my attached PDF audit report through. I'm going to use a new one in 2026. I'm going to move my current notes to prior, and I'm going to update default reports. Okay. And I'm going to say next. Now I've got disclosure updates. So when there is a new disclosure update that will affect your financial statements, we do list it. Purely for this example, I'm deselecting this option because I don't need 2027 for this file yet. Again, in advanced, we will apply a disclosure update in real time. If my 2027 was applicable for this file, yes, I would tick it so that the update applies. Please be rest assured that when you apply an update, you are not losing any of your financial statement information. If whatever that update will be does require replacing the entire sheet, you can see as in 2023, we made sure the tax calc suited the tax returns. It did replace the entire sheet. We will tell you that. But the others, simply just inserts them like a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, sneaks it in, puts it there, doesn't affect any of your existing work. Okay, next. Update default reports. All the options that are ticked are default standard reports, meaning we want you to have the latest version according to the standards. So when it's ticked, it is going to be replaced with a completely new one that is up to date. So Nicole, why are your directors and your accounting policies not ticked? Well, I spent a lot of time editing my directors and my accounting policies, and they're not changing, so I would like to keep them the same. So when you don't tick one of these, it will keep it identical to last year. If you tick it, it will replace it with a completely new version. So I'm leaving it unticked. I'm going to say next. Actually, I would like to carry forward my asset register because I quickly need to update it. So yes, I will carry forward any particular working paper to the next file that I feel or deem appropriate to carry forward. I'm going to finish. Normally, I joke with guys and say, go see if you can beat me and get a cup of coffee before we roll over. But coffee never wins in this instance. Draftworx always beats me to it. So what's basically happening now is it is updating my 2026 financials. Oh, that deadline's looming for Mr. Kofi. Am I going to do it, guys? We'll see. So great. I'm in 2026. So let's rehash what we did with my previous file. Client setup. I go check, and all my information, all there. So I don't have to redo this. I would go check, make sure it is correct and up to date. Yes. If it needs updating, you can go ahead. Go to my trial balance. Trial balance is there. It's all linked as intended. Let's pull in my trial balance for 2026. Go file my spreadsheet. Go find his Bruco trial balance. Thank you, Pums, for sending me everything. So I quickly go assign everything. And I'm going to import. Okay. Again, just remember, that's going to just tell me, look, I have decimals that are just out of balance, but it's still balancing. You can see 0, 0, 0. I've pulled in all my figures. Everything's linked. Let's populate my financials and give Mr. Kofi his financials, guys. Should be an easy walk in the park. We've seen, okay, information still here. Great. Oh, no. I have a retained earnings issue. What am I going to do? Okay. So with the retained earnings issue, when you do see this, it simply means that I need to consider an opening balance test or something has happened with my equity. Now, a quick, easy way to decide this is I normally go to my trial balance. Okay. And I see, okay, share capital, retained income. Okay, there are my Q accounts. Great. My retained income for 2026 says the opening should be 1.263. But according to my financials, last year's closing, and I looked at the signed version as well, was 1.255. So what could possibly have gone wrong? I see Pumi did tell me he added something extra to my file. So I just need to pull out the files quickly. And we're going to quickly go here and we're going to see what did Pumi send me. And I have an opening balance test. So he has so politely gone and done this for me already. And I see, all right, when I do an opening balance test, I'm effectively comparing what the actual financials per Draftworx were for 2025 is versus what my 2025 trial balance from the client says. Any differences identified, I need to go and process a journal. So if I actually go look at my Draftworx and I look at my journals and I go look at 2025, I'll see, there was adjustments posted that Mr. Kofi didn't quite post to the system. So what I'm going to go and do is go and raise a journal to correct my retained earnings. So I simply go and say, all right, we're going to go opening balance corrections. Okay. And I press enter, and I'm going to go and find my affected accounts. So I'm just going to swing this to the other screen so that I can actually see what they were. So I've got what was affected. We have tax and Mr. Shareholders loan. Okay, so Mr. Kofi's loan, I had a adjustment there. Okay, and I had an adjustment to my tax. Okay, and that was a fat balance. I'm hoping I'm doing this the right way around. And this was then affecting my income from the prior year. So in my current year, I need to correct my opening balance. So I go and do that. And we hold thumbs because Mr. Kofi really needs these financials, and check my status. Ooh. No more retained income issue. Okay, so that's solved. I now just need to resolve this issue. So let's have a look at my cash flow again. Okay, I can see, all right, last year I had adjustments for foreign exchange gains and losses that was done. So I just need to check if that's applicable. So remember, yellow cells help you move things around or are simply just rounding cells. Okay, so cash flow, my issue seems to be related to what again? Probably plant and equipment. So let's go look at my note. Now you'll see in a rolled over file, current year, no additions, no depreciation movements, but in my prior year, hey, look at that. It agrees exactly to my prior year's Fs. So I'll go in and just quickly do my adjustments again. Okay, very similar to Dear Mr. Cappy Cakes, same additions, same depreciation. I'm just going to use the shortcut of using my yellow cells. And let's just quickly check our status. All looking good. Just have a tax recon to do, and I seem to have an equity issue. So let me just quickly double check that everything is how it's intended. So general info, got my live preview. Yep, he was happy. He didn't want any changes there. So I now just actually need to go and update anything. So yes, I may need to update this disclosure. I can update. Okay. I may need to go and adjust anything on the audit report or the compilation. So I'll look at my balance sheet. I'll look at my notes, go and check and see that they are reconciling and talking to each other. So I would run through this. Okay. I am specifically going to hit the cash flow to explain that one in a bit more detail, guys, because I know that is, again, the really hated word in accounting, cash flow. So I have a look and I see, look, everything is working out. I would go check all my notes. I do know that my notes are correct. We'll go update a few disclosures. My statement of comprehensive income, I seem to be happy with that layout. Statement of changes in equity. I saw my status had an issue. So let's have a look and explain that one. So I'll see here, other changes not yet reconciled. When it's red like that, okay, it's simply applying that PPE recon principle, okay? We're doing a reconciliation because that's what equity basically is. It's opening balance plus movements getting to a final balance. So when it's affecting your profit and losses or your other comprehensive incomes, great, not a problem. It's identifiable, it pulls through. But when it's movement from balance sheet to balance sheet or equity transfers, yes, it needs a little bit more elaboration. And if it's not balancing, we'll mention that by saying other changes not yet reconciled in red. And that's simply because we've gone and we've taken an opening balance of 150 and we've said your closing is 200. So for your balance sheet to balance, that 200 has to be there. To get to that 200, you had a movement of 50, but you haven't explained what it is. So there's a whole lot of options that you can choose from. You just need to go and see what that movement is. Input it in the blue cells, and hey presto, I've got my statement of changes in equity looking great. Okay, when it comes to your cash flow, you can see everything has automated, and that's simply because we have a history. Now, I'm going to show you a file where that's not the case. There you can see current year, great. Prior year looks messy, okay? And no, we are not talking about the soccer ban here, but we're talking about an actual messy set of financials. So what do I notice differently between this version and the one we just had from Brico? The prior years are all showing blue input cells. So when you see a note like this, please note that there's a manual column. This is either because of one of two options. One, it's a legacy file. It's a startup company. It doesn't have all the required information to work out your movements. Okay. So when you see the blue cells, you can go and get the prior year financials, input it, work it out. Alternatively, you can also hit the working trial balance, go add the third year, everything's all mapped. It will solve that cash flow problem for you faster, than scoring a goal, apparently. Okay. Sorry, had to throw in a bit of soccer humor. It is quite a rough thing happening at the moment. So there we go. Now I look and I see, okay, I'm happy with this, but, how did Draftworx calculate the 252,000? I was expecting a slightly different balance. Not a problem. Drill down becomes your next best friend. It will tell you exactly what makes up a cell content. And if I've made a mistake, I can click on the double-sided arrow and go relink it to where it should best be. But drill down does give me a nice indication as to what's happening. So if I look at my prior 2025, you'll see it gives me accounts payables, but then I see system values. Now, when you see system value in a drill down, that is where your rounding has been applied. And the rounding is over here at the top. You can choose one of the three categories. The power is seriously in your hands as to how you want to set that up. When you see something that says explicit value, it's a manual input in a particular cell, okay? Because you'll notice I cannot edit that cell because it's locked. We'll discuss unlocking and locking of cells in the advanced. So if you are trying to edit something, so far it's been quite easy for me to edit, and you are unable to, please join us on Thursday to find out why. Okay. All right. Now, I've got to do a note for Mr. Kofi over here. He wanted to quickly compare, something to do with the profits. So I check the email out. Okay, I know what to do. So now I've got my notes sheets, and I'm going to build a quick note. Okay, you'll see the financials already include additional note 1, additional note 2. So I am pressured for time today. So I'm going to quickly build it for Mr. Kofi. So we're just going to go profit analysis, and we're going to say coffee. Oh, these backspaces. Sorry, guys, new keyboard. Okay, and then I'm going to go treats. And I'm simply going to actually use our design mode here, because in my design mode, I can go and pick figures from my trial balance. And I can say, all right, I'm going to go and say, all right, coffee sales plus I'm holding in my control my coffee purchases, because I want to actually see what the gross profit was. Okay, so that's the gross profit for my, coffee sales. I am going to adjust my formula there by putting a negative sign in front of it, because I'd like to see it inverted. I want to see what the actual gross profit is, not as a negative. So in front of the sum if that was inserted, I'll go put a negative, open and close your brackets like you would in Excel. And now I've got my profit. And go do the same for the treats. So select my options, holding control if I'm using multiple accounts. And again, just go and invert this. Okay. So quickly doing a little formula here. There we go. We're comparing our profit analysis. Great. And you know what? I'm simply going to copy and I'm going to paste. But now the goal is comparing current and prior profit being the same figure. So when you do use trial balance values, it basically builds you a formula where it takes the sum of the accounts you've selected and the final values if you're using finals. So my priors, I want to, talk to prior. So I've developed my own notes. I feel very distinguished. I can create my own stuff. Aha. And all I simply do is go develop a formatting. And I want final to be replaced with prior. So I'm just going to subtract a year there. Okay. I'm going to go and have a look at my tax calc quickly. Just double check that everything is in accordance. I see, all right, my SOFP is not balancing. So I need to go and put in my assessed payments that I've done. Quickly checking the statement of account from SARS. And I see they made a provisional tax payment of $150. And they've made a 69,464 payment. Ooh, not 4464. See, me and my typing skills. Make sure that my balance sheet tax agrees to what I actually owe SARS. This is not a direct push to your balance sheet. You do need to reconcile it. Now, I'm happy. Let me quickly turn off my status so we can send him a PDF so that we can make Mr. Kofi happy. So, right, format. Now I'm going to preview my financials. I know, guys, it's 4 o'clock. I promise you, we're almost at the end of today's session. We're going to pick it up on the advanced session on Thursday. So please register if you haven't. Join. I promise you there'll be some more interesting tips and tricks. We will cover a little bit more interesting aspects. But let's get Mr. Kofi his financials. So because I had everything all set up last year, I've got letterheads. Okay, so these have all been previously imported, but Nicole, how do I import one? I might need one. I'm new. Not a problem. I can go to an empty letterhead. I can select the 3 little dots here where it says header image. And when it comes to letterheads, guys, it has to be an image quality. So if it's a PDF, it won't work. If it is a, Word document, it's not going to pull through. So I just need to go and find my letterhead, convert it to JPEG, PDF, whatever it may be, and simply just import the image. And that is how I got my letterheads in. Okay, now I can go and actually tell my letterheads how I'd like them to behave. So I can see, all right, I've got a logo in the middle here. Mr. Kofi said the auditors want it in the top center. Not a problem. Go to my image 1, go to my header image, and I'm going to go and say top center. And there we go. I've now changed where my logo should go. Go have a look at my index. There are all my page numbers beautifully pulling through. Okay, seems like I've got an excessive amount of auditor reports happening. So I will go and check that out. Let's see what's happened with my audit report. I seem to have excessive pages. So I'll go and see everything's gone and opened. I'm going to close all of this information because actually my audit report is coming from my external auditors. So I'm going to go close that up. Let's just go back and see how we're doing. Have we at least reduced it from a 6-page audit report? I hope we have. Nope, still really excessive. So I must have done something in the prior file. So I'm going to go close. I have a whole lot of page breaks happening here. So when you see those green lines, guys, this lovely lime green color, it is basically in your print layout, a page break that's been inserted manually. I am just going to close this content because the auditors have told us that we only need 2 pages. Okay. Right. Whoopsie. Go back here. All right. Yeah, sorry, that was my import from last year. Okay, so now I've got my auditor's report down to an acceptable page. Yeah, we've already inserted the auditor's report. Again, we will cover that in advance, guys, so don't stress how that got there. But I now go and I have a look. Yes, okay, is everything ready? You know what? I do have a temporary audit report that I've managed to pull in. Okay, we're just going to keep that there for page number purposes. It still needs to be audited, or we need the final one from the client. There's my lovely report to the compilation. I can go sign that. And I do see I have an excessive amount of pages here. So again, jump back to my preview, go and update it. So I'll go and see, I've accidentally opened an extra paragraph that wasn't meant to be opened. I'm happy, and preview one more time. So you can see it's quite quick to jump to the previews. Make sure that what you're looking at is what is intended to be printed. Okay. Now, what about the cases where, okay, we had a request from the auditors. They do not like 2026 or 2025 on this page. They want it removed. Okay, so I go and I say, all right, we have year headers, and we can actually go and tell it which pages we don't want those headings or do want those headings to appear on. So now you can see, don't have that heading, have the heading on the page I actually want it on. And I go through my financials. Okay. All right, I can see my tables of printing. Everything's okay. I think we're good to give this as a draft to Mr. Kofi so he can approve it. So before we actually give him a full set, I'm going to give him a draft. Embedded watermark, yes. I want to call these draft. Okay. I can even ask him to do a first review. Okay. Seeing as he did want them quite quickly. There we go. And I'm going to save as a PDF. Go save this on my desktop so it's easy to find for me. And I'm going to send that to Mr. Kofi. So if I've got my trial balance in order, I am quite easily able to go and get my financial statements done fairly quickly based on the roll forward. Okay, so never fear when it comes to that, because we've remembered everything that was done in the prior year. Now, what happens if, and I'm going to break something intentionally somewhere. Actually, no, I think it was already broken. I had NAs somewhere. Let me look for it. Let's just see, is it here? I don't know. Let me just preview the sheet again. I saw something on my notes that I wasn't too happy with. And I say, okay, let's go down to here. Let's just see where we saw it. I've got this weird gap. Okay, now I can't figure out how to remove the weird gap. So what am I going to do? Well, we have those incredible support teams, don't we? So let's give them a holler. All right, now, logo in the top corner. There's two ways to contact us via that. You can also email us at support@draftworx.com. You can call our call center. And of course, you can use the in-house application. So if I say support request and I email a support request, okay, it's very important. I will document what I need help with. And if I had files other than the trial balance and the financials I wanted to include, I can go add that document because it helps them decide or see what the issue may be. Okay. But in this case, I'm not selecting files, so I'm going to cancel that option. I can go document, book out support. Please note that when we say book out support, what happens is it is going to send the support team a zipped file. Okay. That zipped file is going to then be worked on. While it's being worked on, your file will be locked as a read-only version. And that's simply just to prevent you doing work and then we send you the file and it overwrites the work. Okay. This can take anywhere between 30 minutes to 4 hours. 1, it depends on the volume of emails. 2, it depends on your actual question. However, Mr. Kofi's in a panic and we need to get these to him now. So I need them now. So remote support. Okay, going to launch my remote support. And somewhere on my computer is going to pop a, do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? I can assure you guys, we don't want to make any changes to your computer. We literally just want to be able to see exactly what you're seeing so that it helps us help you more effectively. We're open 8 to 5, Mondays to Fridays, Central African time. Okay. The session code, don't worry. You do not need a, key code cracking degree. I promise you it'll calculate itself. And if it doesn't, we do have a troubleshoot to fix it. So you'll just be able to contact the support guys and be like, my session code's not appearing. They will help you get there. Your name will be remembered once it's input or pulled through from your license. I am forevermore known as Zeus because I've got lightning fast fingers. Haha. No, actually, I just really type too fast. But I'm going to go and chat and I'm going to tell them. Sad face. No, not happy face. I'm sad because I've got a blank space. I really don't want a blank space in my financials. Sorry, I'm just preempting them. Okay. So there you can see someone has greeted me. They're asking, can I log in? I'm just going to tell them that Taylor's been messing with my file again with her blank spaces. Yeah, Taylor. So obviously, if they needed to, they would log in, come and help fix your query. And again, that will take anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes, maybe longer, especially depending on what your nature of your query is. And let's just give them a shout out. You guys are awesome source because they're little legends. We love them. And there we go. So all the love for our support team. They will help you effectively and get you on your way. Please just remember with the support team, they do have one exception. We can't provide accounting advice. So if I ask them to help me, force balance my apps there because I just cannot get why I'm out, unfortunately, they can tell me, have I done this? Have I done that? But even if it was as obvious as the fact that my name is not Zeus, they would not be able to tell me how to fix my financials because it was an accounting related query. Okay, guys, let me just quickly pull up our slides just to make sure we've covered everything. So everything we covered in the cash flow, you will have access to. There's all our tips and tricks on cash flows and how to use them. And when it comes to legacy files, as well as the retained earnings, okay, and what happens with non-cash. So yes, please, these slides will be available to you guys to help you with your cash flows, your PPE recons, and the linking. Thanks for joining today, you guys.